I like Ice Age. Why? Well, it's because I had a experience a few years ago before Collision Course came out. It was back in 2013. A friend of mine forced me to go to Blue Sky Studios to meet the Ice Age director, Chris Wedge. I never wanted to meet the director, but I had to. So I entered the studio and asked the curators permission to have a talk with Chris Wedge. They said yes, and I was brought to Chris Wedge's room. I entered and said, "Hi, hey, how's it going?" Chris Wedge said. He was a kind, great guy and great movie director. He introduced me all 4 Ice Age films, but I noticed a black cover box saying original film. Curiously, I said, "What's that black code?" "Nothing," Chris said, while stopping my sentence. He knows I was feeling curious. He's hiding something that makes him embarrassed if anyone tries to get their hands on it, which I thought at the time. Chris Wedge ran with the black cover and pushed in front of me. I chased him out of the studio and leaped onto him. A brief fight breaks out between me and Chris Wedge, until Chris gave up and said, "Just take it, if you wanna end up avoiding your favorite franchise." At first I was confused of what I just heard, but took it anyways. I traveled back to home, took my shoes off, washed my hands, went to the living room, inserted the DVD and watched. There was no intro, but it just fades into Sid and Diego talking to each other inside a cave at night. Manny wasn't here, just Sid and Diego, but anyways they were talking about something scary going to attack us if we don't hide kinda stuff. "SSSH, it's coming," Diego said. "Diego, I'm scared," Sid said. "Don't worry, you will be protected," Diego said. I was like, I wonder what's trying to attack them. A dinosaur or a known creature? Diego pushed a rock that is big enough to block the cave. There was a black screen for 5 seconds until Sid light up the sticks to create firelight. I could hear Manfred scream loud in the background along with bite sounds mixed with it. I could also hear Scrat's screams, which was unsettling, because Manfred and Scrat are my favorite characters. It stopped a few minutes later, then the sound returned, but this time a roar that would never ever make me watch Ice Age again. It sounded unhuman and itchy. It was like a cat and a pig been tortured, mixed along with blood-curdling and human shrieks which carried on forever. The camera never moved, as Diego and Sid started to change in appearance, appearing more dehydrated, skinny, bony, old. Each time they get more dehydrated, the louder the shrieks from outside the cave progress. It now started to sound like beating and animals screaming like torture. It was too scary to look at, and I feel like my good old days are falling apart. Finally, after minutes of torture, Sid and Diego turned into bones and the screaming stopped. It fades to black and then fades to a scene that will make me avoid Ice Age anytime it's mentioned. It shows Sid and Diego's bones in a museum being studied for 10 seconds and then the credits roll, but no music played. I took the disc out, placed it back in the cover box, brought it back to Chris Wedge, who is on the floor. I said, "Why did you make this? You destroyed my favorite franchise." Then he replied with, "I made this because Ice Age was originally not for kids. So after the 6 films released, I created what Ice Age was really intended for. But showing this to the public was a bad idea, because kids would get scared, so I never showed this to the public." I was shocked. In fact, so shocked I ran away back to my home and wrote this story here. Now that's why I like Ice Age, and I will never trust kid movie directors ever again.